with us again.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. See, we got Travis Bolt and Dana in the chat already. Shalom, guys. How are y'all? Let's see. It's the 22nd. So we are going to Proverbs 22. There we go. 749 if you're following along. Well, Dana, if you're cold, I don't really have much help for you.
I'm also cold, so
Well,
I
hope
got a
that
heater
warms you
going.
up.
I just gotta wait.
Yeah. Proverbs 22. A good name is preferable to great riches. Favor is better than silver and gold. The rich and the poor meet together. Yahweh is the maker of them all. A clever one foresees evil and conceals himself, but the simple go on and are punished. The reward of humility is the fear of Yahweh. Riches and esteem and life. Thorns, snares are in the way of the perverse. He who guards his life keeps far away from them. Train up a child in the way that he should go, and even when he is old, he turns not away from it. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender. He who sows unrighteousness reaps trouble, and the rod of his wrath perishes. He who has a good eye is blessed, for he gives of his bread to the poor. Cast out the scoffers, and strife goes out, and contention and shame cease. He who loves cleanness apart, whose speech is pleasant, a sovereign is his friend. The eyes of Yahweh shall watch over knowledge, but he overthrows the words of the treacherous. The lazy one says, there is a lion outside. I am going to be murdered in the streets. The mouth of a strange woman is a deep pit. The one denounced by Yahweh falls in there. Folly is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of discipline drives it far from him. One oppresses the poor to increase his wealth. Another gives to the rich only to come to poverty. Incline your ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply your heart to my knowledge, for they are pleasant. If you guard them within you, let all of them be ready on your lips, that your trust might be in Yahweh. I caused you to know today, even you have I previously written to you, of course, or of counsel and knowledge, to cause you to know the certainty of the words of truth, to return words of truth to those who send to you. Do not rob the poor, because he is poor, and oppress not the afflicted at the gate. For Yahweh pleaded their case, and shall plunder those who plunder them. Make no friendship with one given to wrath, and do not go with a man of rage, lest you learn his ways, and find yourself ensnared. Do not be one of those who shakes hands in a pledge, one of those who are guarantors for debts. If you do not have the means to pay, why should he take away your bed from underneath you? Do not move the ancient boundaries which your fathers have set. Do not see a man who is skilled in his works. Or do you see a man who is skilled in his work? He does stand before sovereigns. He does not stand before obscure ones. All right. There's a lot of good meat in that one. I mean, it's that way like all the time, but I think that's the best part about going through the proverb of the day is that there's always something for that day in there. Just starting at the beginning, good name is preferable to great riches. Favor is better than silver and gold. The rich and the poor meet together. Yahweh is the master of them all. So, I don't know about you. Um, the the good name is better than riches. Do you know anybody from before you strategically relocated uh, who was just made of money, but like just a really terrible person?
I can name a few.
Yeah, I can think of a few as well. Um, and I find it interesting that you can have somebody who, and I know some very very well off people who are just the most down to earth people that you'll ever meet. But I also know some people who are just loaded, and uh, their money seems to be their personality. Uh, and if you can't buy real friendship, you can't buy um, good thoughts and feelings from other people. And I just think that uh, those people who are, acting a certain way because their wealth permits them to be that way. Otherwise, they would have been booted from civilized society a long time ago. Um, I find it fascinating that they acquired their money, and sometimes through like some really savvy business. Uh, and through that, they you would think they would have learned some things. It's one thing if somebody's wealthy and they were born into it and they're just, a horrible person all the way through. It's like you kind of expect parent focused on, you know, gaining riches than actually taking care of their kids. That kid's probably not going to turn out that well. Um, but you would think somebody who earned their wealth that they would have a reasonable attitude because they know that you can only cheat somebody for so long before like you run out of people to cheat, and then now nobody wants to do anything with you. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's pretty true. And another thing that kind of came to mind is, and it's probably not talking about it in this perspective, but something I thought of was I'd rather have my name written in the book of life
Oh,
than to get
100%.
my riches on this earth.
100%.
So, like, having a good name,
Hmm.
which a good name would probably be written in the book of life,
Hopefully.
rather than, like, as Messiah says, don't store your treasures here on earth where moth and rust destroy.
Hmm.
All right, everybody, bear with me. Like, I sound terrible.
It's okay.
Sorry.
If you just speak more through your nose, I think it'll be better. Like just lean into it.
Just lean into it. Okay. Tracking.
Clever one foresees evil and conceals himself, but the simple go on and are punished. The reward of humility is the fear of Yahweh, riches and esteem and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the perverse. He who guards his life keeps far away from them.
Cosmetic mouse. Oh, bro.
Shalom, Medic Mouse. Hey, you don't need to apologize for being late. It's like not even 6 a.m.
Mouse, don't be late.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I'm not gonna make somebody do push-ups to participate. So
Yeah, you want to be part of Bible study? Guess what?
yeah.
5 push-ups, you're late. uh,
Now, if it's a workout live stream, then yeah, you better believe it. There's going to be push-ups to join, but that kind of goes with it. Um, Clever one foresees evil and conceals himself. So I was thinking about this a little bit this morning. Um, what's the difference, I guess, between seeing the evil that's in the world and confronting it, and seeing the evil in the world and strategically relocating? Because I think there is a time for both, and there's another verse down here. The lazy one says that there's a lion outside. I'm going to be murdered in the streets. That's 13. So I would think the inverse of that would be that somebody who isn't lazy would see the lion and go take care of it. Um, then you don't have to worry about it coming back. Because what happens when it comes back when you're not there and then it kills someone you love? So, it's coming by because it perceives easy prey. So I think there is something between intervening, standing up in the face of evil, and seeing it and being like, I want no part of that. I don't want to be around here. I don't want to be around this. Bye. Uh, because on a long enough time scale, if the world progressively gets worse and worse, you start running out of places to strategically relocate to. Now, I think that's on an absolutely long enough timeline. But, we also have read the back of the book and we see that, stuff gets crazy after a while. Which not necessarily saying that that's far away from now, but I'm not saying that that's close either because I don't know. I haven't been given that word yet. So I don't know. But you look at that dude Daniel Penny who was jujitsu choking the dude who was assaulting people on the subway in New York. Uh, there's part of me that screams, "Why in the world are you living in New York?" Because that is not an uncommon problem to deal with about people getting assaulted in public, broad daylight, and cops doing nothing about it. And then there's also something about like you see somebody who can't defend themselves being taken advantage of. And what are you supposed to do? You should step in and help them if you are physically able, like do something, because evil is going to continue to get worse and worse if good men do nothing. So there's that, but then there's also like, why are you even living there? So like that strategic balance between GTFO and stand up for what you believe in is, I think it's a dichotomy.
Well, I think that's the importance of asking for discernment, like having
Mhm.
the discernment of the spirit. Because either way, to your point, it should trigger a response.
Mhm.
Now, as to what that response should be, like kind of as you said, is probably dependent on like the timeline where we're
Mhm.
at.
Yeah.
Like right now, as the world sits, like there's better places to be,
Oh yeah.
but also maybe to your other point, like something I often ask myself about like certain things is, well, if we don't, then who will?
Right.
And like, well, if all the good people go and like hide themselves or like they're not
Mhm.
around, where like that evil is just going to continue to run rampant, and that's going to consume like the weaker vessels, I
Yeah.
guess. Um, the innocent, the ones that can't defend themselves, like I don't know, man. Like to be honest, this world's crazy. I hate to see it, but it's no surprise, right?
Yeah.
But it's like the more, like you said, the more that good people try to do the right thing, right, per the eyes of Yah. I think
Hmm.
I think that's the real part we can play in like this ultimate battle, if you will, of like good and evil that is taking place. Because like one could read that verse and be like, oh, I'm just gonna like sink my head into the sand and pretend like nothing's wrong, and it's like,
Hmm.
no, I don't think that's what it's saying.
Yeah.
It's like we should understand and know that the evil persists. Um, and we should honestly hate the evil because, as David said in the Psalms, do I not hate what you hate with a righteous hatred? But with that, it's like there is going like overboard,
Hmm.
acting way out of bounds because of it, like an emotional triggered response. Or there's like, or seeking righteousness, right? What is the correct course of action?
Hmm.
Because I think there is one for all things. Like, should we just run down the street and kill all bad people? Like,
No.
probably not. That's not a great response. That's very emotional. Is that community as a defending life? That like, if you take another life,
Hmm.
you know, different circumstances. But
Different circumstances for sure, but still, it's one of those that you know. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go two places if I can find the right page number. So maybe. Um, where's just okay. Wasn't that far off. Okay, so I've made this reference before several times, but like I'm just gonna hit on it because I think it's true every time I read it, and it's true even when I don't think about it too. So, um, Esther chapter 4, verses 12 through I guess 14. And they declared to Mordecai the words of Esther, and Mordecai commanded them to answer Esther. Do not think within yourself to escape the sovereign's palace any more than all of the other Yehudim. For if you keep entirely silent at this time, relief and deliverance shall arise for the Yehudim from another place, while you and your father's house perish. And who knows whether you have come to the reign for such a time as this. So Mordecai is talking to Esther. He's like, hey, listen here. Like, you have been given this opportunity to stand up for what's right. And if you don't, salvation for the Jews will come by another way, but you will have no part in it, and you and your family are going to be in trouble. And Mordecai is part of Esther's family, and he realizes the ramifications of that. So he's like, hey, it's not going to go well for us, even if salvation comes by another way for the Jews. But you have got to stand up and do this. Yah has put you in this position. Use
yeah,
it. And a little bit of context. At the beginning of Esther, so think it's in chapter 2. Chapter 1. No, that's chapter 2. 2 verse 10. I'm on page 811. Esther had not made known her people or her relatives, for Mordecai had commanded her not to make it known. And every day Mordecai walked about in front of the courtyard of the women's quarters to learn of Esther's welfare and what is done to her. Now when the or no, hang on. I'm the wrong section. What chapter is it? Chapter 3. After these events, the sovereign Ahasuerus promoted Haman, son of the Hamadatha, the Agagite, and exalted him and seated him higher than all of the princes with him. And all of the sovereign's servants who were in the sovereign's gates bowed and did obeisance to Haman, for so the sovereign had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai would not bow or do obeisance. And the sovereign's servant who were there in the sovereign's gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you disobey the sovereign's command?" And it came to be, when they spoke to him daily, that he would not listen to them, that they told Haman to see whether the words of Mordecai would stand, for he had told them that he was a Yehudi. And when Haman said to Mordecai and when Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or do obeisance, Haman was filled with wrath. But it was despicable in the eyes to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had informed him of the people of Mordecai. Therefore, Haman sought to destroy all the Yehudim who were throughout all of the reign of Ahasuerus and the people of Mordecai. So, summing that just a little bit, Haman is an Agagite or an Agagite, however you want to pronounce that. You go back to when Saul was king over Israel. Saul had the opportunity to exterminate the Agagites. He actually was commanded to do so. King Agag was who he was after. And Saul chose to keep King Agag alive, and if I remember correctly, he kept a couple of his generals alive too. And the implications is that they didn't slaughter everybody, and they were told outright, like, kill everybody, like, metaphorically salt the earth. Like, these guys are bad. They're not, like, they do not need to continue sucking oxygen. And you fast forward what, like 2,000 years from Saul, when Esther and her family are in Babylon, exiled. At least 1,000 years forward, when they're exiled into Babylon, and a descendant of Agag is causing trouble for the Yehudim, and that's a big deal. Yah commanded Saul to do something, and Saul didn't do it. And that generations later is the root of the cause of a whole bunch of problems. Now, Yah's got a plan, and he brings them through it. But what are we what are we seeing and running from that we don't need to run from? And what are we seeing that we should run from and we're running towards? I don't know. But that dichotomy of stand up to evil versus completely run away. Neither of those options include going down and sitting at that table with them. So,
Well, Israel's never meant to have a king, anyways, right? Just
right.
we already have a king,
Yeah.
but we, as Israel, we're kind of dumb, and we're like, well, we'd really like a king. All these other nations have a king, so we
Yeah.
want a king. And he's like, no, you don't. We're like, yeah, but we do. It's like, all right, I'll give you a king. It ain't gonna go well,
Mhm.
and it never has since.
Yeah.
And you get to today, and the world's kings like kind of suck. Even still. As a matter of fact, we continue to like vote for our kings, and all of them still suck.
Yeah.
And I think that harkens to why a lot of us have found importance of becoming the kings and priests in our homes,
Mhm.
right? Being more self-sufficient, not allowing basically tyrants, right?
Mhm.
Whatever form a tyrant is, um, dictate or rule over our lives and how we like raise our families and do all
Mhm.
that. Like it's interesting you see the wave tops of like how we were meant to be, then we
Mhm.
screwed that all up because we wanted these other things, and he gave us over to those desires, and then it got super bad, and then like
Mhm.
all the way to today where it's like a lot of us are waking up to this idea of like, oh, we were never meant to have that, and we're like slowly trying to get away from that, at least for ourselves. Like not so
Mhm.
much as a world standing. That probably won't happen until Yeshua comes back. But at least for ourselves, we're like trying to get away from that broken system
Yeah.
that's been in place forever.
And I would agree that it's a net negative for us to have a king. Uh, I do think that there is, decentralized command um, that is good for the people. That said, you go read the Book of Judges, and there's not too many of them who are like great people.
Right. Because we still have
And
weapons.
yeah, and so like even before Israel had a king, still had a lot of problems. I mean, we read about all the problems it had, even when Moses was actually in charge, running around. So like it's not going to be perfect until Yeshua comes back. And
No.
even then, I'm pretty sure his plan involves using us. So like just
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, it's very possible. But there's also the point that, like, at a certain point, uh, the dragon makes war on the people,
Oh, 100%. Like
like
I would
on the
agree
world.
that a king is a net negative. And I would agree that, you know,
It's like we only have so much of a part to play until it's like,
mhm,
well, because even the apostles, right after the death, a lot of them were killed,
you
and that's
you cut out everything in between just now and even the apostles.
okay. We
Yeah,
better.
if you touch your headphones for whatever reason, your mic cuts out for about 4 seconds.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I was just saying that a time comes, like, because even the apostles
Mhm.
were at one point having to run around in secret, um,
Mhm.
and go into hiding,
Mhm.
and were put up to death. Um, like I think there's just a certain point where it's like it just gives back,
Yeah.
and it's like even then they didn't stop. trying to do things like, like John. They try to boil to death, and he's like, cool. Well, while I'm boiling to death in here, I'm
Mhm.
gonna like preach the word. Then didn't die. They're like,
Yeah.
whoa. So it's just like, but yeah, I don't know, man. Dana put a good word in there too.
Yeah. Too many people want to run towards fire thinking that they're doing good, but don't have the wisdom and discernment to know it can consume them. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Sometimes people have a little bit of like that bloodthirst,
Hmm.
if you will, and just don't have a better term for it.
Hmm.
It's like that. That's probably not righteousness, right? Like I don't think Messiah had like this bloodthirst heart when he went and
Hmm.
flipped tables. I think
Yeah.
there's something going on there.
So since you're bringing up flipping tables, so the Chosen just released a promotional uh, for the next season that's getting ready to drop in April.
Oh, really?
And they legit had the picture of Yeshua walking into the temple courts with a whip in his hand. Uh,
All right.
yeah, and like it
I
was a legit whip. It wasn't like you know something that appeared to be improvised.
piece of
So I commented on the post that I saw for it that I am very cautiously optimistic. Like um, I'm excited to see how they handle this. I don't want to see them like treat it so lightly of like, oh, he like spanked a donkey on the butt for it to move. And that like was the whole rigmarole. Like I've seen some pretty poor representations where people like seriously downplay what he was doing. Uh, but then I think there is like a very small subset of the population who like make a super super big deal about him like going over flipping over tables and beating people with a whip, like to the point of like
That's what he did.
yeah, no, he did, but like
Like,
I think there's
yeah.
people who make like too much out of it.
That,
Because that's one aspect of his ministry.
yeah.
Uh, and I think that is a small taste of him coming back as the conquering king who, you know, out of his mouth comes a sword and
Hmm.
like people get smoke checked. Um, but that event is listed a couple of times in the Gospels, and it's possible that it happened more than once. Um, the likelihood that like because they didn't immediately stone him after that. Um, so my brain goes to like it had to be bad, but I don't think it was him room clearing the whole temple and like I definitely think it was a lot worse than smacking a donkey on its rear and getting it to move 6 or 8 inches of like, hey, you're mildly disturbing my shalom, guys. Like I think it was legit, but I don't think it was so militant that like I see some people making it out to be. Like it was. I think it was aggressive. I think he legit flipped tables. I think he ruined some people's businesses. Um, I think he I think he legit hit people with a whip. Like I think people were bleeding because of it. Um, but I don't think he was dragging them into the square and giving them 30 lashes and then sending them on their way. Um, that's that's kind of where I land on that one. And so I'll be very interested to see how the chosen handles it. And I guess I have more of a concern that they'll be too soft with it um, than not heavy enough. But I'm also cautiously optimistic because I think they've approached most things in that show pretty well for like
They've done a good fair.
the overarching. I think
Well,
they've been pretty faithful.
yeah. They've done a good amount,
Mhm.
fairly well.
Yeah, like,
Um,
and I don't
there's
think it's
some,
everything, and my faith isn't in the chosen. or
No,
anything
but
like that. I do enjoy it though.
it's when you're trying to be more fruitful in
Hmm.
your life, like it's nice to have entertainment that's more representative of
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
rather than like, sex scenes in all these movies or something, you
Yeah.
know. So,
Agreed.
I mean, to have a decent show that's actually biblically
Hmm.
accurate for the most part is very nice. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
to the point. I'm not putting my faith in it either. I'm sitting there
Hmm.
critiquing it all the time. I'm like, why is like Matthew for some reason maybe on the spectrum? I don't know. Like, like what's up with all that?
They're
It's like I
yeah
don't,
they're
but
they're doing their own thing, and they'll tell people like, hey, we're trying to create a narrative around his
well,
taught
you're
ones and
to get
make it,
paid.
yeah, and make it a drama. And I get it. But I don't think they've inserted anything in there that's just like way out of left field. Um,
No, that's
so
true. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
kidding. I don't
And like I
want to
said,
push that upon them, but
I'm we're my wife and I, we are cautiously optimistic about the show. Um, like we think that so far they've done a lot of good things, and we're excited to see where it goes. But if it goes way off into left field, like we'll turn it off and like not going to lose a bit of sleep over it. So it's just one of those that we'll see where it goes.
for sure.
I am mildly excited that they're going to be doing a whole bunch of Old Testament stuff,
Yeah.
um, and I'm very curious to see where that goes. So,
Yeah, and they've kind of already touched on like, some
mhm,
of the King David story and stuff like that. So it's cool how
yeah,
they've somewhat interwoven like and
hmm,
then the well that
hmm,
what was it? Isaac or Abraham or whoever.
yeah, Abraham, yeah,
Um, so they've touched on it already, and I think
hmm,
they've done those scenes well too.
yeah.
So,
They're gonna do like a 3 season story about Moses. So,
oh, that
yeah,
would be very interesting to see how because I saw it's like a little mini docu series. It was like a
hmm,
maybe 3 or 4 episode deal on Netflix of this portrayal of the story of Exodus.
mm,
Um, and it was just straight up like, hey, let's try to visualize this with a little bit of like kind of narrative to it.
mm,
It was actually pretty interesting. I think they did it fairly well. So if they do it kind of like that,
yeah,
maybe add a
well,
little like, you know, story-esque, more like a
hmm,
movie style to it, I think it could probably be done well.
yeah. We'll see where it goes. Hey, my kiddos are up and around and moving. I need to go be a dad. So I'm gonna pray
Okay,
us out real quick. And
roger that.
Father, yeah, thank you so much for who you are and what you do for us. Thank you for giving us another day to breathe air and to love on other people and to bring them closer to you. Thank you for redeeming us. Thank you for healing us. Thank you for making us new. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to come home. Father, convict us on where we need to draw closer to you. Teach us to stand up when we need to stand up and fight back. And Father God, teach us to run away and seek you when things are not of you and that we are to flee. Help us to know the difference. In your name. Amen.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everybody for bearing with my not so great voice this
It's
morning.
okay. Your voice is good. It's just you're a little under the weather.
Yeah, it's true. Well,
We still like hearing it.
that's good. All right,
Shalom.
guys, shalom.